Welcome to the Luigi's Mansion 3 Iceberg. Tier 1, The Last Resort. Instead of a big mansion or 5 smaller mansions, Luigi's Mansion 3 takes place inside of the Last Resort, a skyscraper hotel consisting of 17 different floors. The owner of the resort, who invites Luigi and his friends along, including Polterpup of course, is Helen Gravely, a ghost who idolizes King Boo, and she's the one who freed King Boo from his painting after his defeat by Luigi in Dark Moon. Helen, admiring King Boo and wanting to help, sent Luigi a letter promising a stay at the Last Resort, telling him to invite any of his friends and family. Once everyone got to their rooms and settled in for the night, Helen and King Boo put their plan into action, capturing Mario, Peach, and the 3 Toads. Then, when Luigi went to find out what happened to everyone, he was greeted by Helen and Boo at the RIP Suites. This time, King Boo actually seemed to have a decent plan. He was getting ready to trap Luigi in a painting, but like Luigi normally does, he ran away, escaping to a laundry room down a chute in the wall. To slow down Luigi, Helen scattered the elevator buttons throughout the hotel, and that's where the game really starts, getting the different buttons to slowly make your way up and up the tower. Gooigi. Gooigi is weird and where he was first introduced. Lore-wise, it's the 3rd game, but time-wise, he first showed up in the 3DS version of the first Luigi's Mansion. Gooigi is a clone of Luigi that has a lot less health, but can do certain things normal Luigi can't. Doing things like passing through bars, grates, a lot of things most humans wouldn't be able to do. And we even have some backstory on how this Gooigi was made. There was a part of Nintendo's website made to promote Luigi's Mansion 3, and on the site were different comics, like this one showing how Egad discovered the new element he labeled goo. It was found completely on accident when he accidentally spilled coffee onto a blend of greeny ghost energy. Then this newly discovered goo element was combined with the data from the pixelator gathered in Dark Moon. And now we have Gooigi. Like I said though, he was first introduced in the first Luigi's Mansion on the 3DS. Yeah, the introduction of Gooigi was technically in the 3DS remake of Luigi's Mansion 1. Gooigi was just made to be someone to play as for multiplayer. Outside of that, lore-wise, he was in between 2 and 3, and he becomes a massive part of Luigi's Mansion 3, needing to use him multiple times on every floor. Portrait Ghosts return. One of the best parts of the original Luigi's Mansion game is that the ghosts were all different and had unique personalities. And while people love the more weird creatures that the ghosts were in Dark Moon, lots of fans miss the unique portrait ghosts. So Nintendo combined both of them, having brand new unique ghosts that were very similar to the portrait ghosts in 1, and having the more species-like ghosts from Dark Moon actually being the ones that Luigi captured. Helen freed King Boo and all of the other ghosts that Luigi had captured in the 2nd game. Unfoldable Lab. Instead of having a pre-established, already built lab like in the first 2 games, EGAD this time has a portable, unfoldable lab setup. Unfoldable's a bit of an understatement though, as it's still fully metal and more advanced than the last ones. And after obtaining the 4th floor's elevator button, EGAD introduces the shopping network to this lab, which allows Luigi to buy gold bones, boo finders, and gem finders for 1,000 gold apiece. He also gives Luigi the ability to warp to the lab from anywhere in the hotel, instead of having to travel all the way back to the garage every single time. EGAD Painting. When you come across Egad, he's trapped in a painting. Luigi didn't even know he was in the Last Resort in the first place. You're able to free him, but this is the first time he's ever been in a painting. Him, alongside everyone else you came with, are trapped in these paintings, aside Polterpup. But when you talk to him, you find out that, alongside Luigi and the rest of his friends, he was also lured into the Last Resort, and lured him in by playing on his ego. Slam. Instead of simply waiting to be dragged around or hitting A occasionally, in this Luigi's Mansion, Luigi has the ability to slam ghosts to the ground while vacuuming them, and this does a lot of damage. Damage to the ghost itself, yes, but also other ghosts you slam them into. You can also use this slam to get through different areas. Instead of just using the normal vacuum and slamming the ghost, you can get an add-on called the Suction Shot where you can slam things like briefcases and unlock new areas. There's a lot of entries that are just talking about the different ghosts, so I'm combining them here. The Goob is what the standard greenie from the last game is, but blue now. Yeah, there's nothing special with this one, it's just a basic ghost, but instead of green, blue. Then we have the Hammer, which, if it looks familiar, it's pretty much just a slammer. Instead of the circular design, it's now a box shape, and it's for sure a good design, but it's pretty much just a slammer. Then we've got the Slinker, which is very much a newer version of the Hider from Dark Moon, but design-wise this one really sticks out. It acts like the Hider, almost exactly the same, but looks a lot different. Unfortunately, you don't get to fight this one too much, it's quite rare, but I'd say this is my favorite out of the new Ghost design-wise. Outside of the color being different, just the whole shape of it, it feels very separated from the Hider. Then we've got the Oozer, which is also pretty unique, in that it's not an extremely similar or copy of older Ghosts. The Oozer's extremely fast and can hide anywhere, and it also throws objects at Luigi. This ghost is by far the most disorienting to go against. It's unlike a lot of the other ghosts and has a really creepy design. Lastly, for the common ghosts, we have the Trapper. If you thought the Slinker was rare, this one's somehow even more rare. It's only seen about twice throughout the entire game, and it's only when Luigi enters rooms, trapping him and holding him hostage, while Luigi has to come in and save the day. This is the most, I guess, separated ghost, in that it doesn't really act like any other ghost we've seen throughout the games. Scream Park. The Scream Park is a place where you can play 9 different multiplayer games in Luigi's Mansion 3. There's simple modes like Ghost Hunt where you're competing to catch as many ghosts as possible, and there's some more odd ones like Desperate Measures where the game is just balancing weights. The Scream Park is a really nice post-game for Luigi's Mansion. Granted, you have 3 other people, but it's pretty much like a sort of mini Mario Party within Luigi's Mansion. Scare Scraper. Returning from the last game, the Scare Scraper is back. The Scare Scraper gets unlocked once you unlock Luigi. The colors of the 4 Luigis remain the same as the last games, but now only their hats and undershirt are recolored. While the Scare Scraper in 3 is very similar to Dark Moon's in a lot of ways, one of the biggest additions is the inclusion of Luigi, so that makes it possible to play Scare Scraper with up to 8 different people, with the Luigis matching the same color scheme of their recolored Luigis. In this Scare Scraper, there's 6 different modes, being Capture the Ghost, Rescue the Toads, Defeat the Crows, Collect the Money, Capture the Ghost Rare, and Defeat the Boss. All pretty self-explanatory. Originally, this mode could only be played through 5 or 10 floors, but in 2020, there was an update that made it to where you could go through 20 different floors, and lots of new ghost types were added as well. Which, yeah, unique ghosts return for this as well. There's not as many as there were in Dark Moon, but it still brings a lot of variety to the Scare Scraper. Polter Kitty. Just like how there's a ghost dog, Polter Pup, there's a ghost cat as well. This is Polter Kitty, Helen Gravely's ghost cat. They don't appear too much throughout the game, but when they do, they'll occasionally steal elevator buttons and are just a bit of a nuisance. When you end up fighting Polter Kitty, the cat kind of goes insane. It turns into a massive werewolf-sized cat that you have to surprise in a pretty scary encounter, surprising it by hitting it with your poltergust right as it's about to claw your entire back off. So dogs aren't the only animals that can turn into ghosts in this series, and if we get more ghost animals like this and the dog, they may be really scary like this one is. This one's for sure way scarier than Polterpup. Tier 2, Kaiju Goob. On floor 8, there's a Kaiju Goob boss, a ghost dressed up as a kaiju, or basically big monster. Just a bit of a nod to older monster movies like Godzilla. You'll notice later in this Iceberg there's a lot of references to other movies and shows that the developers liked. Not dark enough. The Luigi's Mansion franchise has changed quite a bit throughout the games. The first game was pretty much all portrait ghosts and was pretty dark and kinda scary. The second introduced newer non-portrait ghosts and had 5 mansions instead of 1. But a big change some fans complain about is the darkness of the games. The first game is very dark. Stereotypical, dark, scary mansion. But the third game is oddly bright. Sure, there's still dark spots and some bits can be scary, but tons of lights are still on, and most of the rooms that have their lights flicked off are still very easy to see through. It's not a massive thing that gets brought up a lot, but some fans are very adamant that the first will always be the best purely on how much darker it is. Mall plushies. On floor 3, the mall floor, in one of the stores you can see plushies of different Nintendo characters. like King Boo and Piranha Plant. There's not too many characters here, but it's a nice nod to other parts of the Mario franchise. They'll fly off the shelves. Just like how the first Luigi's Mansion had the Game Boy Horror and Dark Moon the Dual Scream, this time Luigi has the Virtual Boo, a play on the Virtual Boy. EGAD, when telling Luigi about this creation, says they'll fly off the shelves. If you don't know, the Virtual Boy was one of the biggest failures by Nintendo. Although it was revolutionary and really the first big stepping stone for VR, it did terrible. It ran awful, could only display red and black, uncomfortable on your face. I mean, this console was just terrible. So this is a bit of a joke nod to how bad it did. Looking back, it was pretty revolutionary, especially for the history of VR, but that thing, wearing it, I don't recommend it. It's awful. Disco Vault. On floor 14, there's a secret disco vault. You have to do a puzzle where you swap between Luigi and Gooigi, stepping on different panels that aren't lit up. But once you go through all of them, the panels turn into stairs, leading down to this underground vault. And this place is never really hinted at. It's more of just a nice secret that happens to have a lot of gold for whoever finds it. Since 1983. It's hard to see, but on the pizza boxes in Mario's room at the start of the game, it says since 1983, and 1983 was the year that Luigi was invented. In the arcade Mario Bros. Ghosts posing as hotel staff. At the start of the game, when Luigi and everyone else arrive at the last resort, there's staff that welcome everyone, but they seem a bit off. You can't really see any expression on their faces, and they kinda just bob up and down while waiting around. Well, it turns out that these staff are ghosts. Ghosts just dressed up with face masks and hotel uniforms. With Helen Gravely being the owner, it makes sense, but it's still oddly creepy. Their masks are just unsettling. I don't know, it's really off-putting. The Ring Scene. On floor 8 of the last resort, called Paranormal Productions, there's tons of references to other media, like different horror movies. One of the most blatant and obvious of these is The Ring. There's a bit of an homage to it, with Luigi entering different TV screens, and you could for sure call that a reference, but there's an extremely obvious one with actually being able to see Sadako, the girl in the ring, coming out of this well that shows up on the TV. If you compare the two, the well and entire scene setup in Luigi's Mansion is pretty much the exact same from The Ring, and it's a bit of a jump scare seeing Sadako just popping out when you get close. It's kinda similar to what they did with Poltergeist and Dark Moon. The devs just love referencing other popular horror movies. Diamond Plunger. After collecting all the different gems throughout the game, Luigi obtains the Diamond Plunger, an upgrade to his new suction shot ability. This new suction shot is able to fire a plunger that Luigi can pull on with a vacuum. Like I said earlier with the slam, this is how you solve a lot of puzzles. But yeah, when you get all the gems, you can unlock a diamond version of it. Unfortunately, it doesn't act any different, it's purely an aesthetic change, but if you really want a diamond plunger, you have to get every single gem on every single floor. Elevator Gloomy Manor Remix. The music you're hearing now is the music that plays in the elevator of The Last Resort. It's a remix of the Gloomy Manor theme from the last game. Not a whole lot to say about this one, just a nice elevator remix, and I'll be playing it for the next couple entries. Everyone loves Paranormal Productions. Paranormal Productions, the previously mentioned floor 8 of the resort, tends to be a favorite floor by a lot of different fans. Out of all the different floors, this one's extremely unique and just has a lot more personality than a lot of the other floors. Having tons of different Easter eggs, a fun layout, a lot of cool mechanics. It's my personal favorite, and for most people who've played this game, it's also theirs. Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon Poster. When first entering the 8th floor, there's multiple different movie posters you walk by. And aside from one of these being a reference to Punch-Out!, another game made by Next Level Games, the devs of the series, there's also a poster for Dark Moon. On the left here, you can see Luigi staring up at King Boo, just terrified. There's also another poster on the right that I assume is a reference to Mario Strikers. It looks extremely similar, and it's another game franchise that Next Level Games does. Only 3 ranks. In the first Luigi's Mansion, when completing the game, you'd get a rank ranging from A to H, and even adding an S rank with the 3DS version of the game. But Luigi's Mansion 3 only has 3 ending ranks, being an A, B, and C. Lots of fans were disappointed with this, and yeah, it just kinda stinks. I don't really know how they'd go down to H with this resort, but it'd be nice to at least see another rank or 2. Boo Torch. After catching all the different ghosts throughout the last resort, Luigi unlocks the Boo Torch, or Boo Flashlight. Instead of the normal, standard, just light coming out of Luigi's flashlight, now it shows a faint image of a Boo when you shine it onto a surface. It's a nice cosmetic change, like the Diamond Plunger, but also like the Diamond Plunger, it doesn't act any differently. Morty's film. If you don't immediately catch the director ghost, Morty, and instead come back to him later on after the kaiju fight, he'll have finished the movie he was making. So when you go and see him, you can see this black and white Luigi versus kaiju movie. It's a nice Easter egg, and I doubt many people have seen it. I mean, you have to kind of go out of your way to see this movie. Paranormal Productions' Spider Queen. The Spider Queen from Dark Moon's Gloomy Manor returns in Luigi's Mansion 3. When in Paranormal Productions, Luigi has to get a megaphone for the director, and this megaphone is in a box filled with spider webs. And when you eventually open the box, you'll see the Spider Queen herself. Just a massive, scary, non-ghost spider that Luigi has to fight. Crueler Mall Cop. Crueler is a big mall cop ghost. That's one of the most iconic ghosts in the game. A lot of fans speculate that his design was inspired off Paul Blart from Mall Cop, and yeah, I could see it for sure. Their appearance, lack of experience with their work, personalities, they're both extremely similar. And while it's never stated if this ghost was directly inspired off the movie or not, seeing how much the devs like to reference other movies, especially with Paranormal Productions, I wouldn't put it past them to make a whole character purely because of Paul Blart. Mini Goobs and Hammers. Every now and then you can come across mini versions of ghosts, like Mini Goobs and Hammers. They're not at all difficult one-on-one, they're actually pretty easy, but they usually appear in hordes, so while one or two of these may not be that bad, when they spawn in 5, it can get very overwhelming very quickly. EGAD's Research Journal. As a part of promoting Luigi's Mansion 3 coming out, an addition to the Nintendo site was made called EGAD's Research Journal. It was just filled with different comics giving more insight into EGAD's personality and the upcoming Luigi character. Comics like this are how we know that Luigi was made by mistake, from spilling coffee onto a blend of greeny ghost energy. Promotions like this, in my opinion, are some of the best because they give a lot of lore about characters that we would have just never gotten in the game. E.T. Bike. Just like how there's a reference to The Ring and some other movies throughout Paranormal Productions, there's a reference to E.T. during the firefighter scene you can go through. On the right here, you can see a bike with a basket in the front and a blanket covering something kinda weirdly shaped. It looks exactly like the bike from E.T. did, and the thing under the blanket, I imagine, is E.T., or at least something that's shaped extremely similar to him. Brick Block. On floor 14, if you have Luigi playing music on this wall, you can see a brick slide out. If you take Luigi underneath it and jump up and down constantly, you'll see it's a block from the Mario games, and every time you hit it from underneath, you get a coin. Tier 3, Twin Peaks floor. On the 11th floor of the Last Resort, beside the carpet, you can see the actual tiled floor. This design is known as a chevron floor, and it was made extremely popular by the show Twin Peaks, which explaining Twin Peaks is kinda hard because it's extremely weird, but by far the most iconic area in the show is this red room that's just filled with red curtains and this really almost trippy looking chevron floor. If this room wasn't so iconic just in pop culture, it would for sure just be a normal floor design, but seeing how they reference so many other things in this game, it's for sure a connection to Twin Peaks, or at least a nod to it. Carpet glitch. When Luigi's Mansion 3 first released, it was pretty glitchy. Not terrible, but there was some funny glitches that you can't do anymore. One of these being the carpet glitch. Sometimes carpets would just spin everywhere and glitch out. There were a good number of these weird glitches that only happened in the first version of the game, the 1.0 launch. Since then, most of these have been patched out. Giant King Boo. Throughout the Luigi's Mansion games, King Boo has been the bad guy for every single one, which, yeah, makes sense. He's the big bad ghost who wants to capture Luigi. But there's something kind of odd about all of his different appearances. Game by game, he's grown in size. In the first game, he was the size of a normal Boo. Dark Moon, he got a bit bigger than Luigi. And in 3, he is just massive. While it's never described why he gets bigger, fans have some theories. The biggest theories for why this happens is that, number 1, his size represents his ego, showing him getting more and more confident throughout the games, and 2, showing his power, which I guess you could just tie those two together. Throughout the games, he gets more and more powerful, and it just makes him more powerful and big of a ghost. While it's most likely just a design decision to make sure he always looks intimidating, I could for sure see the devs making this a part of the story. Boo constantly gets more powerful throughout the game, so it would make sense to make him look bigger. Luigi is invincible. With how Luigi works, always coming back to the Poltergust pack, it makes him invincible. No matter what happens to him, the gooey Luigi will just never die. Maybe there's something that'll kill him in the future, but at this point, there is seemingly no way of getting rid of this goo element. And Luigi, in theory, could live forever. Donkey Kong Treadmill. On floor 13, there's a massive gym area, and in this gym are tons of different weights, bikes, treadmills. I mean, it's massive. And one of these treadmills has a reference to Donkey Kong. After you finish running on this third treadmill here, you'll hear this tune play. And that's the music from Donkey Kong when you pick up the hammer. Egad's Marilyn Monroe pose. When you first rescue Egad and are escorting him to his bunker in the garage, if you flash him with a flashlight, he'll do different famous Marilyn Monroe poses. There's not any lore reason as to why he'd do this. I mean, he's never even talked about her, but every time you flash him, he does one of her poses. The rest of Egad's collection. If Egad was kidnapped by King Boo and Helen Gravely, what happened to his collection of ghosts? Well, they were stolen. Helen says his whole collection was stolen alongside King Boo, so all the ghosts Luigi worked so hard to get in the first two games are just gone. So will the old portrait ghosts maybe eventually return? Maybe even Greenies? We don't know. But in a Luigi's Mansion 4, hopefully that'll come out at some point, they might bring back some of the older ghosts. Hidden radio tunes. Throughout the different floors, you'll come across multiple different radios, and these radios will play remixes of the main theme. There's a house version, jazz version, blues. They're just really good, and I'll be playing them as background music for this entry and the next few. Wii U game. When first making Luigi's Mansion 3, the Wii U was the main console, and through a series of delays and the failure of the Wii U, Nintendo and Next Level Games decided it'd be better to wait to release it on the Switch. This was for sure the right decision. I mean, if it was on the Wii U, it wouldn't be the worst, since every Wii U game seemingly just gets ported to Switch for $60, but it was definitely a good decision releasing it while the Switch was already pretty established. It for sure helped sales and make sure the game was actually ready for launch. Scrapped Grand Lobby designs. As a part of the DLC, you can see concept art for what the Grand Lobby originally looked like. The original concepts for the Grand Lobby kind of remind me of Epic Mickey in its color palette and kind of creepiness in some ways. In some ways, I do wish we got this for the final game, but seeing the last resort being so nice when you get there, I think design-wise it was for the better that they didn't use a concept art one. The Shining carpet. If you've ever seen The Shining, you'll probably remember what the interior looks like. To an extent. Well, throughout the hotel in The Shining, there's this carpet everywhere. A weird hexagon-shaped carpet. And it's pretty iconic, and not used very often. So when the devs of Luigi's Mansion sprinkled this carpet throughout floor 11, a lot of fans speculated that it's a reference to The Shining. And while this one isn't nearly as iconic as Twin Peaks, I could see them doing it just to be a reference to the movie. Teased in Smash reveal. When announcing Simon from Castlevania for Smash, the start of the trailer had Luigi wandering through a castle in his Luigi's Mansion attire. And this was in 2018. A year before Luigi's Mansion 3, and before Luigi's Mansion 3 was even announced. So it was a bit of a tease to an upcoming Luigi's Mansion. So while some fans were probably disappointed it was a Castlevania character just getting added to Smash, they'd eventually get a brand new Luigi's Mansion the very next year. Polterpup's pupils. As a weird artistic choice by Next Level Games, Polterpup's pupils were removed for Luigi's Mansion 3, despite getting them back at the end of Dark Moon. I do prefer the non-pupiled Polterpup. In my opinion, it does look better, but it is a bit weird to just change it back out of nowhere. Common ghost names spell ghost. Just like how the different mansions in Dark Moon ended up spelling out ghost with their first letters, the same thing happens with the names of the common ghosts in Luigi's Mansion 3, being the Goobs, G, Hammers, H, Oozers, O, Slinkers, S, and Trappers, T, combined spelling out ghost. Chef Soufflé inspired by Luigi's Mansion 1 cut chef ghost. In the beta of Luigi's Mansion 1, there was a chef ghost that ended up getting cut before release. Well, this ghost kind of came back in Luigi's Mansion 3. A new ghost called Chef Soufflé was added, being, you guessed it, a chef. The actual appearance isn't too similar, but some fans did want to see a chef ghost back in the game, and this was Next Level Games' way of sort of bringing that cut chef ghost back. Poltergust poster in Egad's room. In Egad's room on the 5th floor, you can see the design documents for the first ever Poltergust. It's hard to see, but if you really zoom in, it's the first one from Luigi's Mansion. Despite Egad seemingly not caring what happens to Luigi, He at least likes his old inventions he gave to Luigi enough to turn them into posters. Helen Gravely had no reflection. When exiting the elevator with Helen Gravely in the intro to the game, you can see that everything but her actual body has a reflection. So I guess in the world of Luigi's Mansion, the ghosts kind of act like vampires in a way, where they don't have reflections. Odd choice. I mean, I don't entirely know if it's intentional because there's certainly ghosts that do have reflections, but at least in this scene, whether it be a glitch or design decision, she doesn't have a reflection. It references. In the B2 floor, you can see some different references to It. There's paper boats floating around in the water, and a single balloon sitting at the end of this tunnel. I'd be slightly more skeptical if this was a reference to It, but seeing as how much the devs love putting horror movies in this game, it's for sure a reference to it, especially with how popular the It movie was when they started development of this game. It lines up perfectly to be a reference to It. Dr. Potter's beta plant. In the beta of Luigi's Mansion 3, the plant monster originally had 3 heads. We can't see this anymore, like it's not in the concept art. We only know there was 3 from devs talking about it. But yeah, this killer plant used to be a sort of Hydra killer plant in a way. I really just wish there was any way of seeing what this actually looked like. Boo Morse code. When you first get close to a Boo's hiding spot, your controller will buzz out BOO in Morse code. It's super unique to see an Easter egg like this. I mean, using a controller's vibration to do Morse code is something at least I've never heard of. Just a bit of an insanely creative Easter egg for next level games to do. Poltergust Type G. Just like how you can get the diamond suction shot, you can get a golden poltergust called the Type G after completing every single achievement in the game. Like the other collectible variants, this one actually doesn't affect the device at all. It doesn't make it act any differently, but it does give it a complete aesthetic overhaul. Just a bit insane to unlock it. The floors were meant to link. During development of the game, initially all the floors were going to be linked, looking similar to each other and having puzzles that you would do one part on, say, floor 2, and then either floor 1 or 3 would unlock something. And while this could have been a good idea, I mean the concept was for sure good, and while it would have been interesting to see what this would have looked like, it ultimately got scrapped. I'd say it was for the better though. With having the different floors separated, it makes having the different themed floors make more sense, and it would have been fun to go through, kind of Resident Evil style, getting one thing on floor 2, then unlocking something on floor 5, but I also think with Nintendo drawing in a lot of younger players, it might have just been a bit too complicated. Geist paint. According to EGAD in the FAQ section of the guide, the type of makeup that Helen Gravely uses is something from a brand called Geist Paint. It's only mentioned this one time, just a ghost makeup brand, but that means in the universe of Luigi's Mansion, ghosts are popular enough to have their own brands. So while Luigi is defeating a lot of these ghosts and, always saving the day, there's probably tons of other ghosts out there. I mean, at least enough to make a whole makeup brand for ghosts. Unused music. Just like the last 2 games, there's a good chunk of unused music for this game that we still have access to through the files. I'll be playing them now and for the next entry or 2. Red coin. There's a sprite of an unused red coin left over in the files. No red coins made it to the full release of the game, but at one point during development, this was likely considered to be a part of a type of puzzle that we never ended up seeing. It just got completely cut from the game. Tier 4. Luigi Push. There's a glitch for speedrunning Luigi's Mansion 3 that can get Luigi to phase through objects, specifically this one gate. By using Luigi to flashlight stun Luigi, Luigi will cover his face in an animation, and while he's doing this, you can actually push him around. Normally you can't at all when you're Luigi. And aside from being able to just push him around like this, you can push him through other objects, making him phase through things, like getting Luigi to phase through this gate, completely skipping the entire 6th floor of The Last Resort. Dabbing goobs. So when I said this game was originally being made for the Wii U? Yeah, when the Wii U was the main Nintendo console, unfortunately, dabbing was still popular. So when you go to the dance hall, the goobs end up dabbing in front of Luigi. Scariest part of the entire game. 40 rooms in RIP Suites. Originally, the RIP Suites was going to have 40 different rooms. I mean, the RIP Suites are a cool part of the game, but with the rooms already feeling slightly repetitive with how few there are, having 40 of them would have just been awful. I'm really glad the devs changed their mind on this. 1.0 glitches. When Luigi's Mansion 3 first released, the game was much glitchier. Not unplayable by any means. I mean, lots of people didn't even come across any glitches, but there were some silly ones that you can't do anymore. Like the carpet glitch I previously mentioned, there were tons of other weird things that just ended up getting patched out. Scrapped amusement park floor. One of the floors that ended up getting scrapped before release was the amusement park floor. We don't know a whole lot about this one, aside from that it was most likely replaced by the Twisted Suites on floor 11, but out of all the cut things in this game, an entire amusement park floor being cut really sucks. The theme would have been great for this game. King Boo's crown is an anti-Dark Moon fragment. At the end of Dark Moon, Luigi repairs the Dark Moon, making all the ghosts peaceful again. But they're still all angry in Luigi's Mansion 3. So there's a theory that the crown King Boo wears is a sort of anti-Dark Moon fragment, because without something like that, King Boo wouldn't have been able to make all the common ghosts bad. And they're certainly acting exactly like they were when the Dark Moon was shattered. So there's something overriding this Dark Moon. Even their pupils disappeared, just like they did at the start of Dark Moon. Ice and fire floors. When designing the different floors for The Last Resort, the devs wanted to make this game unique. I mean, it was going to be another Luigi's Mansion game, so there were going to be a lot of parallels, but they wanted this game to feel entirely unique. So at one point, ice and fire floors were in development, but they saw these floors as too basic, too similar to something Nintendo would do on the regular, so these two floors ended up getting completely cut. Luigi at the start. In the reveal trailer of Luigi's Mansion 3, Luigi was shown at the start of The Last Resort with Luigi already in his pack. Some fans speculate that possibly in the beta of the game, Luigi was available from the start, and this may be true. I mean, we don't know, but it could have also been that it was just for the trailer, having something weird and lime green to have the fans speculate about. Rule 34. And that's it for the Luigi's Mansion 3 Iceberg. I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, maybe like and subscribe. We're really close to 10K, so it'd mean the world to me if you subscribe. But subscribed or not, I hope you have a great rest of your day, week, month, and I'll see you in the next one.